Oh, Elizabeth's motives are actually recorded in the historical record, so we know. She was in dispute with her mother-in-law. Her husband had just been killed in the Battle of St Albans, and her mother-in-law wouldn't pay her the land which was due to her. Now she was a widow. In the absence of that, she was absolutely without any financial independence at all, so she was living at home with her parents. And given the social arrangements of the time, she wouldn't be able to marry without an independent fortune. Who would take her on, plus 2 boys who belonged to somebody else, without some kind of financial incentive? So her entire future depended upon her getting her dowry lands back. And they'd been in dispute and they'd been to the courts, and she wasn't able to do it. The source of all power in England at that time is the king, and so she waited, legend has it, under an oak tree by the side of the road, waiting for him to ride by as he was recruiting soldiers for the next battle he had to fight. And the legend is that she stepped out and he stopped and he fell in love with her. Did she fall in love with him? We don't know. Certainly she took a very great risk in marrying him in secret. Certainly they were lovers. Certainly she had 12 children by him and was a faithful and very, very good wife to him. I think they may have fallen genuinely in love. It may be a genuine love story. What we don't know, what we can't know, is what Edward was thinking when he stopped his horse, spoke to her, and 6 weeks later married her in secrecy. Perhaps he really thought that he might go through a form of marriage with her, tell her that they were married, basically become her lover, and then use her in court as his mistress, and then do a proper formal marriage to a princess of France. And maybe she was cleverer than him and held him to it. Or maybe, as is perhaps the most likely, that he really just did fall head over heels in love with her and made an incredibly disadvantageous marriage, which cut him off from the possibility of a lasting alliance with France, which was really important, and cut him off permanently from the influence and the power of his mentor, the kingmaker, the Earl of Warwick. What the marriage does for Edward is it, on the good side, it gives him the possibility of a whole new alliance, a whole new power grouping around the throne, which isn't York and isn't Lancaster, but is this extraordinary family, the Woodville family, who take their family name as the Rivers. Nobody knows why. I think perhaps in tribute to the goddess, their ancestress, the goddess of rivers. And because they have so many siblings, Elizabeth has so very many siblings, and they're all single, and they marry them out, they just spread them out amongst the aristocracy. So you get this incredible network of kingship who are absolutely loyal to each other and to Edward. So in a sense, that potentially could have worked tremendously well. The trouble is that what it does is that it focuses a lot of power on Elizabeth and her elite, her kinsmen, and that means that everyone who's displaced from these power positions becomes very jealous and becomes an enemy. Thus, the Earl of Warwick is displaced from the position he thinks he's going to be as chief advisor, and George, the brother, the Duke of Clarence, he becomes displaced from his position as, firstly, advisor, brother, and of course heir to the throne, when Elizabeth starts churning out these children, and he goes, what's going to happen to me?